It seems like nowadays cancer is everywhere, touching each and every one of our lives, and for some, it becomes their fight. And one woman danced her way through it. I sit down with Shantel Behroozan to talk about her journey and her message to those who have cancer.
Well, what a treat is this? I don't know if I should put on some music and want to dance with you, Miss Chantel, or we're actually sitting and we're going to have a conversation together.
Sure. This is the very few times that I'm actually sitting and not moving. So it's a
Many
treat.
people, I know, many people who know you from social media know you as this bright, beautiful personality who has been dancing and moving around everywhere, really inspiring people to move their bodies and to do it to Persian music, which I'm absolutely obsessed with. But what I think many people may be surprised and not know is how you got there and the whole journey behind it and why that dance means so much to you. And that's why I'm looking forward to spending some time with you in the next, 20, 30 minutes for you to tell us about your journey. How
Thank
did
you.
this happen?
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my story and talk about how I did get to where I am right now. Gosh, we have to go back about 6 years, and that's when I got diagnosed with breast cancer. Actually, let's go back a few years prior to that. So I've been dancing my entire life, and it's been a passion and it's been a hobby, and I'm trained in African dance and Jamaican dance, which is totally outside the box and so different from what I'm doing right now. But at 35, I remember walking by this huge ad for Equinox, and it was a lady that had had a mastectomy on one side of her breast, and there was a tattoo artist that was drawing this beautiful flower in place of where her nipple was. And I remember walking by this huge ad every single day thinking, why is this here? And it's so disturbing. And why do I keep looking at this? And what's the significance of this? And then I realized it was Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And I said, you know what? Maybe I need to do a breast exam. And I was 34, maybe at the time, 34, 35. I wasn't thinking of breast cancer. I wasn't thinking of anything with my health, to be honest. I had 3 really small kids. And I started just feeling around and didn't feel anything. And I remember coming home one night from an event with my husband, and I had this bodysuit on with a zipper. And something was hurting. I was wearing a bra that was pushing my breasts together, and it felt like the zipper was going into my skin. And so I kind of put my hand and I started feeling around, and lo and behold, I felt this small pea-sized little lump. And I said, honey, what's that? What is that? And he said, is it around the time of your month of your period? You know, sometimes when you're hormonal, that happens, and women have lumps in their breasts, but definitely call your OBGYN in the morning and go see her. So first thing in the morning I did, and she scheduled me for my first mammogram. So at this point, I'm almost 35. I go in for a mammogram, and they tell me you have dense breast tissue and you have cystic breasts. So it's very common, nothing to worry about. Go and come back when you're 40.
They said go and come back when you're 40.
When you're 40, which is the standard of care for mammograms. That's when you start getting mammograms. They asked me some screening questions. Is there any breast cancer in your family? Which there wasn't. Does anyone carry the gene?
No history of cancer in your family.
None, 0. Of breast cancer, no history of breast cancer in the family. And so I went home and I didn't think twice about it. And many of the women in my family, my aunts, my grandma, they all had cystic breasts that were biopsied at one point, and they were all, thank God, benign. So I just figured this is my genetic disposition, and I have cystic breasts like they do. So I went home, didn't think twice about it. 6 months later, I decided, you know what? Let me go back again for a checkup. Let's
Wow.
go see what's going on. And so I made an appointment and I went back, and that same cyst, the one that I could feel, because there were others that I couldn't feel, that same cyst was still there. It had not grown at all, but there was a lymph node present that showed up in my mammogram and my ultrasound. And at the time, I didn't know anything about it, so it wasn't alarming to me. Um, it should have been a red flag to the doctors. Um, but again, they said, you know what, we'll just watch it, go and come back.
I,
Go
I,
and come back.
I can't believe this.
Yeah.
So
And
this is
so
the second time now.
this is the second time now that I've gone on my own and was told not to worry. And so I left, and again, 6 months goes by, and we're traveling, and I'm putting my bathing suit on, and I'm touching the lump, and I'm like, you know what? It's actually grown a little bit. It's not the same size it used to be. I'm gonna make an appointment when I go back again.
So the same
And
same doctor, same people. Okay.
same place. So I go back, and they do the mammogram and they do the ultrasound, and they said, you know what, Chantel, you're right. Thank God you came back. We need to do a biopsy, and we're gonna call you in about a week to set that up. So I walked out of there and I called my husband and I said, honey, I need to go see another doctor right now immediately. I've already wasted so much time. I don't know what is in my body, but I just want it taken out. And so he called a few friends. They got me in that same day. And I remember walking into that office. That doctor walked in and started doing an ultrasound at first. And she said to me, she said, Chantel, don't worry, there's lots of really good treatments out there.
Right away.
Right away, right away. And I said, treatments? Treatments for what? And she said, well, let me just do the biopsy first. She was doing a guided biopsy with the ultrasound. Let me just get through this and then we'll talk more. And so I said, okay. And she did the biopsy and she said, let me get the results. I'll call you tomorrow. And I didn't think anything of it. So I said, okay, give me a call, which I'll never do anymore because ah, um, I happened to be at a birthday party with my girls and they were in the pool swimming when I got the phone call. And it just wasn't the right time or place to be hearing news like that. But so I answer the phone call and she says to me, I got the results back and like I thought it's breast cancer. It's stage 1 breast cancer and you're going to be okay. And I don't even remember what else she said to me because I think in that moment, everything just went dark. Um, and I thought I was dying. I thought I was dying. I didn't really know anyone at that point that had breast cancer. Um, no one really talked about it. And at that age, with 3 small kids, I thought, this is it. I'm like, this is how my story ends. Um, in fact, this is kind of where my story began. And so within the next week, I started going to a bunch of different oncologists and making decisions about whether to do a lumpectomy, whether to have a mastectomy, what to do, what the next steps were. And it really all happened so quickly. We decided to do a lumpectomy.
Which
And
is for anybody that's not familiar.
a lumpectomy is you go in and just remove the tumor as opposed to removing all your breast tissue. So at that age, at 36, I wasn't prepared to separate from my breasts. And based on all the information at that time, they had told me my survival rate was the same as if I was going to remove all my breast tissue. So I made that decision. It was a very personal one. Um, and while they did remove the tumor, they also remove 3 or 4 lymph nodes. And the reason why they do that is because they want to see if any of the cancer cells have left your breasts and gone to other parts of your body. Based on that information, then you can decide whether or not you need to do chemotherapy and what the next steps are for your treatment. Luckily for me, it was a slow growing tumor. And over the course of that year and a half, from what we know, it didn't leave my breast. So it was a tumor that was growing off of the hormones in my own body.
Mm.
And so a lot of people don't know this, but there's two different types of breast cancer. It's called the same thing. It's called breast cancer because it originates in the breast, but they're two completely different diseases. They are treated differently. One feeds off of the hormones in your body. And because of that, there's more treatments because you can suppress your hormones. The other one, which is called, they refer to it as triple negative breast cancer, totally different. I don't know much about it because I didn't go through that, but they do have a lot more difficult treatments, and there's no real medication for that. It's a lot more aggressive. So we decided to do the lumpectomy. We found out, thank God, it hadn't spread and it was slow growing. And with that information, I did not need to do chemotherapy. So that was one of the things I was most scared of. I know it sounds silly, but just going through the hair loss and the appetite loss, and it's a lot. It takes a big toll on your body. So we decided to do 37 rounds of radiation.
36.
Which wasn't a small feat either.
Right.
And everyone that I spoke to went through different emotions and different physical feelings with it. And I decided not to talk to anyone about it and just go on my journey and figure out on my own how it was going to affect me.
Why not talk to anybody about it?
Because everyone I spoke to scared me. Everyone I spoke to had these like horror stories about how they were burnt to a crisp and they were so exhausted and they couldn't get out of bed and they lost their appetite, and it scared me. The more people I spoke to, the more I got frightened. And I thought, you know what? I can't find anyone that's going to tell me anything that's going to make me feel good about this process. And I think that's part of why I want to talk about what I went through, because I want people to know it's not that bad and you do get through it. And there's tips and there's things you can do to help you get through it. And so I started my radiation journey, and every single day I promised myself I would go to dance class before I'd go in for treatment. And that's what I did. I'd go to dance and I'd walk into radiation and I would be like drenched in sweat and red. You've seen me, red in the face.
You would do that and then go into radiation?
And then I'd go into radiation every single day. And I'd walk in there and I was happy and my endorphins were running wild. And they're like, are you in the right place? And I'd line up all the techs and I said, we're going to stretch. We're all going to stretch before I go into that machine. And so they knew when I came in there, everyone would line up and try to touch their toes. I said, by the time I'm out of here, I want everyone down to the floor. And they would laugh at me, but they would do it. They would do it. And I'd go into the machine pumped up and I'd come out, and day after day, I was burnt. Every single day that I'd go in there, my skin would start to peel and blister and bleed. And by the end of it, so it was like from here all the way down and all the way down to my ribs. Black, like the color of my shirt, and crusty and just gushing blood. But I didn't feel it. But I didn't feel it because I would go to dance and I would be so happy and I'd put cream on and I'd have pads on everywhere and I would wear these big t-shirts just because I didn't want to frighten people. But I was okay. And I had the support of my friends and my family, and everyone made me feel so loved and good. I was okay. I was okay. I didn't feel any of those emotions and those physical feelings that I had heard about.
You weren't scared?
I was scared, but I decided it was going to be mind over matter. And I chose to go down that road, and I did, and I didn't feel tired, and I didn't stop doing all the things I was doing before. And I got through my radiation. I got through my radiation. It took about a month for my skin to heal and go back to, I don't know that it will ever go back to being what it was before. But I got through my radiation, and after that started life after cancer. And the treatment continued for 5 years. So because of my age and because my hormone levels were still high, they use it as an insurance policy, I guess. God forbid if there are any microscopic cancer cells still left in your body. They want to suppress your hormones as much as they can. And so with that, we decided to do ovarian suppression, which means they put you in a menopause. They put you in a menopausal state through
That
monthly
already sounds uncomfortable. Is it?
Yes. Yes. So it's a lot of hot flashes. So what you would imagine going through in your late 40s or early 50s, where your hormones are dropping, they're inducing that into your body so that your body is not producing hormones. And it was hard in the beginning to get used to. Again, the hot flashes, a little bit of the weight gain. They told me I'd have pain in my joints and my bones, and I'd wake up and it would take me a minute or two to just get out of bed and be able to walk, and I probably wouldn't be able to exercise the way I was used to. And I remember hearing all of this and thinking, no, I'm going to exercise even more. I'm going to dance even harder, and nothing's going to stop me. And that's what I did. And that's what I did. And so I continued to dance, I continued to exercise and move. And yeah, I had my moments. I had my challenging moments. But you have to keep pushing through, especially when you have family and kids and a husband and people that depend on you, right? You have to stay strong for them. And that's what I tried to do. I tried to do my best. And so 5 years later,
Look at
5 years,
5 years
five,
later. Look at you.
5 years later. So 5 years of that treatment, 5 years of ovarian suppression, hormone blockers. This past December, I took my last pill. And I shared that on social media with everyone.
I know. I saw.
And it was a happy moment and a scary moment, because then you're like, what's going to happen now? Are my hormones going to come back? Am I going to have a recurrence? You know, there's always that voice in the back of your mind that worries. What if it does come back? And I say to myself, if it does, I've spent the last 5 or 6 years living the best life with my family and my kids, and trying to spread as much awareness and love and meeting all these amazing women that I wouldn't normally cross paths with. And if I was able to touch one of their lives, then I went through what I went through for a reason and for a purpose. And that's okay. And that's okay. So I do feel like there was a purpose behind what I went through. I feel like I came out stronger. And then I started this beautiful dance journey, right? Through COVID, because all of a sudden, all the dance studios were shut down. All my teachers were out of work. I didn't have my happy place to go to. And I decided, you know what? We're going to turn my backyard into a dance studio. And we're going to hire all the teachers that we love. And we're going to bring our favorite drummers. And we're going to bring a DJ. And we're just going to dance outside and not have a mirror, get out of our heads and our bodies, and just move.
Just move.
And
Oh,
just move, right? Without comparing yourself to the person next to you, without focusing on your own body movements. At first, I was like, how does that work? We're going to dance and we can't see ourselves in the mirror. And then it became the most liberating, exhilarating experience. And so from once a week with 3, 4 friends, very quickly turned into like 40, 50 ladies in my backyard, 3, 4 times a week. And this was all during COVID. And so people would be like, aren't you scared you're going to get sick? And I was like, I've had cancer. Like, COVID can't touch me. And no, I'd rather be doing this and dancing with all these ladies and get COVID. I didn't mind. And I thank God I didn't. This went on for a year and a half in my house. And so I was trying to introduce my African dance to our Persian community. But what they wanted was the Persian dance.
they wanted the
Hair. They wanted the hair. They wanted the hair. And so it's amazing because they kind of took me back to my roots.
Oh,
Like I grew up, and you know Stephen very well, my cousin Stephen.
yes,
He and
Stephen.
I grew up dancing together all the time to Persian music, right? They would throw us in the middle of every single party and we would dance for hours. And that was like our time together. But it wasn't something that I continued as an adult. There was nowhere to go. Where could I go and do Persian dancing as like a workout?
Yeah, as a workout, that you didn't find that very often. Anybody, I would always go sometimes and work out because I'm not a big workout person, especially when I'm on the treadmill. And I would daydream. I'm like, I wish there was a place that we could work out together with Persian music. I always wanted that, and it was never there until I ran into you.
But you're not the only one.
Yeah, clearly. Look at your glasses now.
We love, right? We love going to parties and dancing, but we're in our gowns and we're in our heels and our hair is done and who wants to sweat all over all. And so now all of a sudden we have a place where we can sweat, we're in our workout clothes and we're hairing and we're dancing, and I'm learning all about the different kinds of Persian dances and music, old, new, all of it, right? And then I have all these followers from Iran. Then it's amazing because they're leaving me voice notes. I'm learning about the culture. I was born and raised in the States, so I've never had the pleasure of going there, but it's big in our house, right? My parents are both from Iran. They raised us with big Persian traditions. And so Farsi baladam harf bezanem. I know a lot of people ask me all the time. So it's been a beautiful journey, which has led me to here, which has led me to you. So much of what I do is to provide a healing space for women, a safe space where they can come and they can dance and let loose. But so many of these women that come in are cancer survivors. So many of these women are touched by their moms or their grandmothers or their aunts or their best friends going through it, and they need a place to come just release and recharge and go out and be the strong women they need to be. And I like to give back. I like to give back to the community through our fundraisers. So that's kind of how you and I connected.
Yes.
You do that too. You empower women, you give them confidence, you give them strength, and you love to dance.
I do love to dance. I do love to dance. We're stronger together. I always believed in that. And I'm lucky to have you on this team that we get to do these hair for charities every so often to pay it forward. We have a big one coming up in September where all the money that will be raised from that will go to a organization helping those who are fighting cancer. So I'm so looking forward to that, and people will hear more about that. Shantel, there are a lot of people in life when they are faced with challenges, and I know many of them, I meet many of them, given the business that I'm in. They have a choice on how they react to things, and their world will fall apart, and it's very painful, and that pain is usually what takes them through their journey. I've known you now, for a bit, And now watching and listening to you here on social or on this podcast, and people are going to see a different side of you on social because they usually see you dancing and doing these amazing moves. What brings this calmness and the strength to you? Because you speak in a very peaceful place. People that are faced with the challenges that you've been faced with, being a mother and having three young kids, and then at such a young age being told you have cancer. I mean, some people throw in the towel and be like, I'm done, I'm out. And you chose to do something different with it. Where did that come from? Where does that come from?
There were many moments. There were many nights where I laid in bed and I cried myself to sleep thinking, why me? Why now? Why my kids? Like, why my family? And I can't tell you that I didn't want to throw in the towel. I can't tell you I didn't have so many moments of darkness. I did. Until I realized, well, this isn't doing me any good. Right? Like, I'm not doing anyone any good by lying in bed and crying and not getting up and not being myself. So if I'm going to fight, I'm going to do it the way I want to do it, with a smile and with grace and with integrity. And if I'm going anywhere, I don't want people to remember me this way. I want them to remember me as someone that fought hard, that was smiling and happy and fun to be around. And so, yes, people usually, it's funny because they see me and they always think I'm like this energy ball and I'm always dancing and jumping up and down. But the flip side of it is I'm actually very calm most of the time.
Yes. Yeah.
Very calm. I'm very zen. The music turns on and all of a sudden something kind of like ignites in me and it's a switch that turns on. But I'll see people out and they'll stop me and be like, let's dance. I'm like, wait, no, I'm not there right now. I'm like, I'm here. I'm here. So I've always been a super calm person. That's like my alter ego that comes out on the dance floor. I'm not really sure who that is, but whoever that person is who got me through all my difficult times. It was a voice in the back of my head that said, Shantel, get up. You can't do this. And of course, the help of my husband, his support, his love, my children, my mom, my dad, my sisters. I mean, like, I say sisters, I have one sister, but I feel like I have so many because my best friends, really, they all came in and just lifted me up and gave me the strength when I didn't have it to hold my head up.
If you could be that strength, and I really could sit here and talk to you for hours because your story is so inspiring, and it's amazing. The more you get to sometimes just sit down and just talk to people and learn about their journey, you realize that, wow, like they've been through so much. And I want to leave as people are watching this, whether it's a woman who might be in that same boat right now and they are now faced with cancer, or they're just dealing with some really big challenges in their life. What would be your piece of advice that you can give them as a woman who has walked through fire and you came out on the other side with smiling and now carrying all the way through? What would you tell them?
I would tell them that everything is temporary. The bad is temporary. The good is temporary, so enjoy it as much as you can when it's good. And when it's bad, know that it won't last forever. It'll end. You'll get through it. I get so many phone calls every week from women in our community that are newly diagnosed with breast cancer. And for whatever reason, they don't want to talk about it with their family or friends. They're ashamed. I still don't understand why. Or they don't want to burden their mom or their spouse or their friends. But they call me for support, and they call me because they're scared. And the one thing that they say to me is, when I see you and I see that you've gone through it and then you've come out stronger, it gives me hope. And so even on the days where I'm tired, I make sure I push through, because for that one person that day that's watching, I want them to know that they will be great and they will be strong and they will get through it. And that's it.
I can promise you there'll be more than one person watching this. And that one person, you just heard what Shantel just said, is that you are great, you're amazing, and you will get through it. And what a way to wrap up this amazing conversation. I cannot wait to dance with you. I know you're floating all over the place. You have classes in LA, you do them Valley, you're down in Orange County. And every few months you give me the honor and your time to be able to do this There for Charity, which coming up in September, you'll have to keep your eyes peeled on the social media. We'll be posting about it. Big There for Charity, and all the money that is raised will be going to an organization.
It's actually, it's going to be going to the Living Beauty.
You have the name, yeah.
It's going to be going to the Living Beauty, and they help women that are currently living with cancer. They help them with retreats. They help them with the quality of life. They do such amazing things. And I spoke to the founder this morning, and she will probably be at the event. If not, we're definitely going to have real life living beauties that are undergoing treatment right now at our event.
Oh.
That will be the recipients of our donations, and they can talk about how they're impacted by what they're doing and by what we're doing, and it's so incredibly powerful.
You
so
are.
I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. You are so incredibly powerful. Thank you so much for sharing your journey, part of your journey, because I know it goes much deeper than that, but hopefully this will help inspire one woman, and I know it will, who's watching this. Shantel, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my story with everyone.